Sees him walking off the ground here.
Who's hurt here? Petracca too. Got a knee in the back, I think.
It's a big knee from Darcy Moore. Got him right in the ribs.
And not well there at all.
He was in pain immediately. Christian Petracca went to ground, had to break away from the quarter-time huddle. A lot of pain there.
If that is a serious rib injury, there's no way he can meaningfully contribute today.
Petracca looks like he's getting ready to come back onto the ground.
Yep, he is.
Extraordinary.
I don't know, that would have to be so sore on that left-hand side ribs. Watch him closely. He's being so brave right now, but he's not comfortable out there at all.
Just watching Petracca behind the play then, he is moving ever so slowly. He's hunched over most of the time. He's in a lot of pain.
I don't know how much longer he can last.
So he is done officially. He's not going to take any further part in the game.
Anything with a broken rib or a cracked rib, you certainly get some pain relief and see how you can go on. It was pretty evident that he wasn't going to be able to play on, so we just pulled it straight away at half-time.
I just sometimes think if that's my son going back out of the ground, the field of battle to win one given game, Jace, to take that risk.
I think you're being unfair. I'm always comfortable because I'll back in the medical staff.
Every time we say the players' welfare comes first, I just think today was evidence for me, in a game that was already sliding, why risk him back out there again?
It was a debate that gathered greater magnitude as the full damage was revealed. Says Christian was on Instagram at various stages today. Thanks for all the love and support was his first message. And then as he became aware of the debate around the medical care at Melbourne, he put the record straight. I'm responsible for putting myself out there, by the way, for people talking about the medicos. So a few different layers to this. The first is for Christian himself. I mean, this is Dipper and Derm territory, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Some of the most famous footage in AFL history is Dermot getting crunched in 89 and Dipper getting helped off the ground after the siren, couldn't breathe, straight into hospital. That's what the first thing I thought of yesterday. There is so many layers to this, Jared. When he got hit, every player is going to say, I will be right. Just let me deal with it. Painkillers, adrenaline, a mixture of both. Let me test it and see how I'm going. I think in the cold hard light today, with what we now know, that was a wrong decision to send him back out there. I can understand why they tried, but in hindsight, it was the wrong decision, and that's been proven today.
Yes, it's sort of. It is a hard position to defend. I do note the reporting tonight has the AFL medical officer comfortable with the processes that Melbourne adopted. That escapes me. I'm not quite sure how you could be comfortable not knowing what the damage was and subsequently learning in hindsight and having a player go back out on the field in that condition. So Melbourne's statement today was conspicuous for not addressing any of what transpired, but all about what happens next with the welfare.
Do you think we require some transparency? What happened behind closed doors? What sort of was he given injections? Was it a field test? Was it a verbal test? How much say does Christian Petracca have? Who's got the most say? The doctor or Petracca? Because at the moment, right now, we think it's Petracca. His voice carried the most weight downstairs in the rooms.
The risk assessment. I imagine that the medical staff was mortified to learn what the actual injuries were later in the night, because you couldn't have put him back out on the field if he had. So. Yeah, there is a question around what the overall procedures are, what specifically is done, but then there's a question, what specifically isn't done, and whether this is a moment in time to go, okay, so the game is built on bravery. And Jason and Kingy had that debate in real time beforehand last night, but you have to have the debate in the cold light of day. So this was the sort of pain that he was in the second quarter. He was handballing wherever he could, and that's where he kicks. And so he's in excruciating pain. So the game is built on admiring that courage, but in behind that has to be a question of, hey, what sort of risks were actually taken here, not knowingly?
I don't think it's right for anyone to question the medical people at Melbourne, okay? But I wonder last night when they went to bed, did they ask themselves, were we strong enough at that time? I'm not saying they made the wrong decision last night. Clearly, in hindsight, it's the wrong decision to send him back out. But last night, when Christian was deciding, we need this, our season's on the line, you can understand that. That's that gladiator attitude that these competitors have got. But I wonder if the doctors have said to themselves, we should have been stronger in the moment. Now, I don't know how you detect I don't know if it's a split spleen, if that's the right word, a ruptured spleen. They've got a punctured lung, so his breathing would have been affected, and the broken ribs. They're not cracked. They said they were broken ribs. Now, it was interesting. So if you've got broken ribs, you should be able to feel the break. If you've got a cracked rib, that may not come up on a field test when you ask, what did they do? So they would have been pushing and prodding. Did that hurt? Did that hurt? And Petracca, they would have taken painkillers. He would have said, let me get back out there. The AFL's cleared it off. They would not have allowed the day to go on without, I think, having a thorough review of how Melbourne handled that situation.
And so once you approve the procedures as they are, then you actually have to pose questions. Well, is that how the procedures should be going forward? So Christian embodied, he and Gawn were the two who embodied how important yesterday was, and really not many of the others went with them early in the game. So I totally understand why Christian wanted to be back out there in the second quarter, because he understood the magnitude and the ramifications that sat on it. And it's impossible not to admire him. It's going to be months rather than weeks in all likelihood.
Yeah. They couldn't do it with Christian Petracca. Now they've got to do it without Christian Petracca. We said after the game last night, well, I did, I think they're done. I think they can't win it. Now the Petracca's going to be out for what? So we'll give him a rough 6 weeks?
Minimum.
Right, minimum 6 weeks. He's a great player. He might not take too long to get back into it, but where's Melbourne's season going to be in 6 weeks' time? As Kingy said,